Okay, let's call the meeting to order. In accordance with Chapter 940 CMR 29, remote participation adopted by the Greater Lowell Tech School Committee on April 17, 2014. Committee members O'Hare and Committeeman LeMay will be participating in this meeting remotely. If we all could rise so we can have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, if we could have a roll call, please, Colette?
Mr. Gigi. Mr. Gigi?
Here.
Mr. Tatsias?
Here.
Mr. Moran?
I'm here.
Mr. O'Hare?
Here.
Mr. LeMay? Mr. Sheehan?
Here.
Mr. Getchia?
Yeah.
Mr. Bahu?
Here. Is Mr. Moran, is anybody signed up for public appearance?
Mr. Chairman, no one has signed up.
Okay, great. Next, why don't we turn the meeting over to our student representative.
Thank you.
Tom, by the way. Thank you for coming.
He's a little slow. He's new to the position.
I was waiting for that. You don't worry about, when it's time for a flag, we'll make sure.
I forgot the gavel too, man.
I'm not a gavel guy.
Skills USA has been busy with preparations for the State Leadership and Skills Conference, which will be held as a 3 single-day extended day events instead of the traditional overnight format. Leadership and occupationally related events will take place today, April 14th, and Teamworks will be held on Thursday and Friday, April 28th and the 29th. All technical events will be conducted on April 29th. This year, Greater Lowell has 86 students attending the conference as voting delegates, technical, and leadership competitors. This includes a Teamworks team and a state officer candidate, Junior Elizabeth Hughes. The National Honor Society and National Technical Honor Society is hosting a food drive from March 30th until April 28th to benefit End 68 Hours of Hunger Merrimack Valley. End 68 Hours of Hunger Merrimack Valley is a private, not-for-profit organization which confronts the 68 hours of hunger that some children experience between the free lunch they receive on Friday and the free breakfast that they receive on Monday morning. Donation boxes are located in all math classrooms. The classroom that produces the largest amount of donations will receive a special prize. The freshman and sophomore class ventured to Chunky Cinema in Nashua on Thursday, March 31st to see The Lost City starring Sandra Bullock. The students all enjoyed seeing the movie and spending time with their friends. Their next project is planning an end-of-year dance to celebrate the arrival of summer vacation. GSA traveled to Reading High School last week for the GSA Regional Conference. Students and advisors had the opportunity to share the best practices and experiences with their peers from other schools in Massachusetts. Some topics discussed include student-led professional development regarding LGBTQ issues, building a sense of community, and qualities of strong leaders. The music club has been meeting weekly in person when late buses are available and remotely via Google Meet when they are not. They have been playing musical games, talking remote musical field trips, and researching musicians of interest. The yearbook committee submitted the yearbook for printing on March 25th, and yearbooks are expected to arrive in time for distribution during our senior week in June. They are now working on the 2022 yearbook supplement, which will include spring sports, senior week, prom, and graduation. Peer mentors continue to build trusting relationships with their mentees and have reached some of the goals they set earlier this year. Mentors have been available for support and encouragement as freshmen finished up exploratory classes and completed the process of selecting their shops. The NABT Bio Club members have been studying barn owls. They are exploring habitats, nesting, diet, and conservation of their species. One aspect of the study is to examine owl pellets to gather evidence of the smaller mammals and insects that owls eat. The club members are planning outdoor activities for spring and summer so they can continue their explorations after the school year ends. And the senior class planning committee is excited to announce Midnight Garden as their prom theme. The prom will take place on Friday, May 13th from 7 to 11 p.m. at the Boxborough Regency right in Boxborough, Massachusetts. Tickets will be on sale at myschoolbucks.com until April 24th. Their committee has also been planning fun Senior Week events, such as a trip to Chunky's and our annual Senior Hypnotist Show. In athletic news, the Griffin baseball and softball team have battled a little rainy weather in the early season as they begin to hit the diamonds. Softball dropped an early season decision to a tough Shawsheen team 3-0 and looks to get going in the upcoming games with Whittier and Greater Lawrence. Baseball dropped its opener in a pitcher's duel 1-0 to Lowell Catholic. The Griffin 9 will look to break into the win column in upcoming events against Greater Lawrence and Tingsboro. Both the boys and girls lacrosse teams have played well in the early going. The boys are still looking to crack the win column, but recent strong showing against Northeast and Neshoba Tech have seen them trending in the right direction. The Lady Griffins have run off 2 straight wins over Northeast and Neshoba Tech and look to keep their streak going in the upcoming contest with Whittier and Lowell Catholic. Track and field picked up right where they left off coming out of their league championship performances during indoor season. The team brought home convincing wins on both the boys' and girls' sides last week at Whittier. The team will travel next to face Northeast Metro on April 13th. Boys volleyball opened up their season with a win over Salem on April 5th. The boys will face tough contests against Greater Lawrence and Lexington in the coming week. And tennis hit the courts running this spring with a win over Mystic Valley on April 4th. With a record turnout for players this spring, over 70 athletes, the future looks bright for the program. And that is it, folks. Have a good night, guys.
Have a great school vacation.
Thank you. Happy Easter to you all.
Great report. Happy Easter. Okay, next, we're going to need an approval of the minutes for March 22.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gigi, second by Mr. Getchier.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes. Next, we'll have the report of the treasurer to approve the warrants. Could we have a motion to waive the reading?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sheehan, second by Mr. Getchier.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes. Next, if we could have approval of the warrants in the amount of $3,606,070.22. Motion by Mr. Moran, second by Mr. Gigi.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Getchia? Mr. Bahu?
Yes. And after that, we have no report from our general counsel. So if we could turn the meeting over to our superintendent director, Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
So the first item on my agenda this evening is the cooperative education report. And the report was provided to you in your packet. And the report indicates a total of 226 students, 181 seniors and 45 juniors who are on co-op. As you know, I always have some good updates. So we have a total of 238 students on co-op to date, with adding 12 additional juniors to the original numbers that are in your packet. And I'm happy to also say that after vacation, there are 15 more students that will be starting co-op.
Wow.
So we are really doing a great, Stacy Bazanson, with the help of our technical instructors, are really doing a great job with getting our students out on co-op, both seniors and juniors. So I always like to thank Stacy and our technical instructors for the hard work that they do to make that possible. The next item on my agenda, I would like to provide you an update on the health and safety protocols. So on April 8th, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education announced that they would be extending their statewide testing options, which is their testing program that we are a part of, beyond April 22nd, so for the remainder of the school year. and they'll continue to monitor COVID-19 and make any further adjustments to the state testing program if they need to based on the data. So we will continue with our testing that we do here in school. We will continue with our test distribution kits, which we also do as part of that program. The next item on my agenda is approval of the school committee schedule. And this schedule is in your packet for the 22-23 school year.
Motion approved.
Anyone have any questions or concerns about the dates?
Motion by Mr. Sheehan to approve, seconded by Mr. Tatsias.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
yes,
Mr. Lemay?
yes,
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
The next item on my agenda, excuse me, I'll be seeking approval for out-of-state travel for 3 of our instructors. Cosmetology instructor Michelle Mills, carpentry instructor Pat Couliard, and special education instructor Sheila Giancopoulos are asking to attend at no cost to the district a training at the United States Marine Corps Educators Workshop in Paris Island, South Carolina, May 3rd through May 6th. This is a workshop where they'll develop a further understanding of the Marine Corps and the different opportunities it has to offer. At the same time, they will be working on building leadership, teamwork, problem solving, and communication skills, all of which they can share with their students and help them to be better leaders and mentors for our students. So I'm asking for your support. Again, it would be at no cost to the district.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Gigi for travel for our 3 instructors to Paris Island, seconded by Mr. Tatsias.
Mr.
If I can
Gigi?
go.
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
I mean,
yes,
Mr. Lemay?
yes,
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Ms. Davis, if I could say, Mr. Chairman, when I was a teacher here, I went on one of those. And it was to Fort Dix. It was the Army. And you had a whole itinerary. You got up with the troops, you ate with the troops. I did You that. followed them through for about 4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
Wow.
That was pretty amazing.
Sounds very, sounds
very similar.
rewarding.
Yeah.
What was the study? What were you looking to learn?
Well, it was similar to this, to see how, what they do, what they, you know, what they get out of, what they get out of the,
Basic?
yeah, and, you know, that they also come out of the military if they so choose, or if they want to stay, they can go to college, you know, and, you know, when you, after you do your training, you know, it's like a job, you know. You can get a specific job and you stay in that particular thing, but, you know, it was very interesting. I think as myself, I was visualizing that, you know, you got up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you got, you know, something, oh no, you went into a dining hall and you got up there and they cooked your eggs the way you wanted them, and it was pretty impressive, you know what I mean?
When was that, Paul?
Oh, 30 years ago.
Long time ago.
Here.
Long time ago.
At least they didn't wake you up to
What
go
do
do
you guys
like
had here?
a 2-mile run.
No.
That was only.
But I was 30 years younger. I was 30 years younger, but they actually sent a military officer to my house to pick me up,
Oh.
to meet with, it was a group from New England, not just our school. And then we went to Boston, and they flew us into, I think you have to go into, because we had to be bused to Dix, Fort
Yeah.
Dix.
Sure.
But we were staying in a motel on the base, you know
Oh,
what
wow.
I mean? And, you know, but yeah, we had a whole itinerary every day, what they did, where they went for lunch, what their options were, what they had to do for training, you know what I mean? And they had like an area, like a simulator with a firearm, so you're not actually out on the field shooting, you know what I mean?
Sounds very interesting.
It was very interesting.
We might have to have Mr. Couliard Miss Jean Coppolis, as well as Miss Mills up here and tell us about it upon their return.
Yes.
Yeah,
Not
you
be
know.
a bad idea
Yes,
if we
right
have some
now.
time at one of our meetings.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
And-
yeah, that'd be nice if they took some notes and,
Videotape
Yes.
it while
you know,
I like it. Well, we can't go.
let us know, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to let you know that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Mr. Moore.
And you know, that also helped me with my students, you know,
That's
in case they
great.
got out of line, you know.
Yeah.
You could share some
Believe me.
experiences.
Listen, I could share some stories about that.
Yeah, I know.
I give you a crew cut, Paul.
Yeah. I had a lot of hair in those days, actually.
So that is the end of my report, but
Quiet.
before I conclude, I just want to extend my appreciation to the administrators, faculty, and staff for all their hard work to get to this point where we are this year, and I hope that they all have a very relaxing April vacation and are ready to come back to end the school year on a positive note. So
And it-
again, thank you to everybody, and as well as to all the students and their families for their support.
And in actuality, on my experience was, we also had people in the building in an administrative form that were in the military. That were a big part of setting the whole thing up.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot to it, especially
Yeah.
we were there for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your report,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Superintendent.
We don't vote on that?
You did vote on it.
We took a
You
vote for
did.
the
That's right,
travel.
we did, yes.
Yep. Next is the report of our business manager.
And there is
Do we
no
have any
report this
tonight?
evening?
No report, that's fine.
Okay.
And then old business, anybody have any,
Report on how
Pretty
the
good. Can we, Mr. Chairman, can we get rid of 1 and 4? Take them off real business.
sure,
I just talked to the committee, that he doesn't have a problem.
I don't have a problem.
okay.
That's fine.
And realistically, I have no problem with getting rid of number 5.
Okay, I was just
Because it
gonna
sounds like something's in the works
I just
to,
figured you might want to keep it. just in case
yeah,
something-
look at have more students or more space for our student body in the near future. Great, so we can strike those, numbers 1, 4, and 5.
Somebody made a motion?
I'll make the motion to strike 1, 4, and 5 off old business.
Oh, 1, 4, 5, yeah.
Motion by Mr. Getchia, seconded by Mr. Gigi.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes,
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes. Okay, next is new business. Does anybody have any thoughts on something that might be upcoming?
I attended the science fair here yesterday. I just want to thank everybody, the whole staff. It was unbelievable. It was, I don't know, it was really good. I mean, I learned, guys, that the boys need a better aim in the bathroom. It's really dirty under the urinals. I watched a plumber make a catapult that went 19 feet with a ball. It was pretty cool coming in and watching. And I'll tell you, the kids were great. They engaged everybody. You walked up and they told you what their project was. It was really good. It was good to see.
So that was just to extend your gratitude to Carol Chisholm, the
Yeah, to
cluster
whoever was
chair
involved. I don't wanna
for
name
math and
names.
science, and Chris Burns, who really
Right, I didn't
helped
want to
to
name
run
names
the
because I don't want
program.
to miss somebody.
Okay, those are the two who ran the program, but of course, all the support of the science teachers and the students.
Oh, it was nice seeing the other classes come and participate too. It was coming out of class watching. It was really cool watching the kids engage. It was a little normalcy, I guess.
I've been to it.
It was only for an hour and a half, but you got that much out of it,
Yeah,
which is great.
I'll tell you, I tried to hit everyone. A couple of them were duplicates. I tell you, Freddie Sokia, apples and lemon juice. They're
Tell
all
me.
brown.
Really? Soak my apples
I
and
was a
lemon juice.
judge.
Uh-huh. So did
I
your
judged
apples
the
turn brown?
biology, no, I judged the biology section. That was not part of my,
Yeah, it was pretty good though.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for running the science fair and for being a part of it. Thank you for going, Mr. Getchia.
I just attended.
Committee person motions, there are none. Report of subcommittees, there is nothing in the report. Lastly, it looks like we need to go into executive session to talk about non-union personnel contracts. There may be a vote or ratification of the contracts, therefore we may need to come out of it and take a public vote. So if we could have a motion to go into executive
So
session.
moved. Chairman, so moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Lemay, seconded by Mr. Moran.
Mr. Gigi,
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias.
Yes.
Mr. Moran,
Yeah.
Mr. O'Hare,
Yes.
Mr. Lemay,
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan,
Yes.
Mr. Getchia,
Yes.
Mr. Bahu.
Yes. Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess and
That's
then
it.
come back and go into
Is he gonna be able
executive
to
session. Okay, we just came out of executive session to discuss non-union personnel pay increases. So the first pay increase that we discussed was our media director.
No, media technician.
Oh, I'm sorry, our media technician, who, in order to keep him secure in his position as well as ensure his commitment to Greater Lowell Tech, I'd entertain a motion for the media director to receive an extra $1,000 per year.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Getchier, seconded by Mr. Sheehan.
Mr. Gigi,
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias.
Yes.
Mr. Moran,
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare,
Yes.
Mr. Lemay,
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan.
Yes.
Mr. Getchia.
Yes.
Mr. Bahu.
Yes. Secondly, we spoke about our senior worksite aides who have been non-union personnel for collectively 21 years. And we have worked on making sure that they are comfortable and secure here at Greater Lowell Tech. So I would entertain a motion to increase their salaries by $5,000 each.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Moran,
Second.
second by Mr. Tatsias.
Mr. Gigi,
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias.
Yes.
Mr. Moran,
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare,
Yes.
Mr. Lemay,
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan,
Yes.
Mr. Getchia.
Yes.
Mr. Bahu.
Yes. And third, we have just finished negotiations with our 7 unions here at Greater Lowell Tech. So in order to mimic their contracts, we have some non-contractual employees that we will match the pay increases that we gave to the other union personnel. And that would be a 2.5% salary increase for non-contractual employees, a 2.5% salary increase for our district treasurer, a 2.5% salary increase for our 2 senior assistant principals, a 2.5% salary increase for our senior principal, a 2.5% salary increase for our assistant superintendent principal, and a 2.5% salary increase for our superintendent director. Could I have a motion on that?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Getchier, second by Mr. Sheehan. Roll call.
Mr. Gigi,
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias.
Yes.
Mr. Moran,
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare,
Yes.
Mr. Lemay,
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan,
Yes.
Mr. Getchia.
Yes.
Mr. Bahu.
Yes. Okay, and I think that's all it is for our meeting tonight, April 14, 2022. So I could maybe have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Gigi, seconded by Mr. Getchier. Roll call.
Mr. Gigi,
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias.
Yes.
Mr. Moran,
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare,
Yes.
Mr. Lemay,
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan,
Yes.
Mr. Getchia.
Yes.
Mr. Bahu.
Yes.